Trying to learn the basics of editing a video in Adobe Premiere Pro. In this video, I will show off the need-to-know parts of video editing using Premiere Pro. You can download Premiere Pro from Adobe's website or their Creative Cloud app. Once installed, open it and select New Project in the window that pops up. There are some options that can be changed, but we won't change them now because the defaults are fine and they can be changed later. You want to name the file and select a save location. So again, we're going to select New Project and we're going to name the file. Really, anything matters. First, let's go over the layout of Premiere Pro. At the very top of the program, there are 7 layout tabs to choose from that change the workspace of the program. Editing is the best option for video editing, with effects being a secondary option. If you want to use a lot of effects, basically just follow the names of the layouts and use the one for the project you're working on. For example, audio would be the most effective for audio or music editing. Continuing with the editing layout, it's time to get familiar with the 4 sections of the screen. Top left is used for video clip properties, effect controls, and audio mixing. Bottom left holds the files imported to the project and has libraries for effects. Top right is the video player, which is a preview of our project and has the normal player options. Finally, the bottom right is a timeline where you'll be adding clips, images, text, and audio to create your video. Let's start our project by importing a video clip, and then we can look over the basic tools of editing the video clip on the timeline. To import media, you can drag and drop files to the bottom left, the imported files library, or the timeline. You can also go to File, Import, and select the file from there. After importing a video clip, let's add it to the timeline. It's as easy as dragging and dropping it to the timeline. When you add the first clip to the timeline, there are more elements that pop up. These are tracks with 3 video tracks on top and 3 audio tracks below. I've zoomed in on the tracks that show up with this video clip imported. Anything in the topmost video track will play above any other video element. For example, putting text as the top track is a good idea. So on this track up here, anything in the audio tracks will play at the exact same time, so you can add commentary, music, and sound effects. You can mute tracks or lock tracks to disable edits to their files. There are scroll bars on the timeline that will zoom in or out to make editing clearer over here on the right. Above the tracks, there are 5 buttons/tools that affect the tracks and editing. From left to right, the first one allows inserting a new sequence of files as a nest or not. We won't use this one, so leave it alone. The second one allows files to snap to one another on the timeline. We'll leave this one activated. The third one is linked selection, which means when we edit this video clip, the audio track will be affected too. We'll turn this one on, but sometimes you'll want it off. The fourth one allows you to place a marker on the timeline. And the last one is a list of timeline display options, which is used to customize your timeline however you want with all these options. Now let's adjust the tools directly to the left of the timeline. In order they are, with the hotkeys in parentheses: Selection tool, which is V, Track Select Forward tool, which is A, Ripple Edit tool, which is B, Razor tool, which is C, Split tool, which is Y, Pen tool, which is P, Hand tool, which is H, and the Type tool, which is T. For this basic tutorial, we will only be using the Selection tool, the Razor tool, and the Type tool. All the other ones have more advanced uses. We'll start editing our video clip now. Let's begin by using our Selection tool. Either click it over here or press V. Now we can select the clip by clicking on it or clicking the empty space and dragging over files in the timeline like this. Once the clip is selected, we can move the clip left or right, or we can move it up a track or down a track. Also, we can trim the beginning or end of the clip by grabbing it and sliding it left or right. Not so hard, right? Now we'll shake things up by splitting this clip into 2 clips. To do this, we need to select the Razor tool over here, or press C. Go to the point on the clip that you want to split and click it. Let's say right here. For more precise splits, you can use the preview in the top right to cycle frame by frame until the exact moment you want to split, and click the blue bar on the timeline over the clip. So see how this snaps to the blue bar? Boom, click that. Once we have split a clip in two, we can move or trim these individually with the selection tool, again by pressing this or V on the keyboard. And you can trim again or move right or left or up or down, anything you want. Using these tools together, we can cut the boring parts out of our video clip and move the interesting parts together. This is the most simplistic part of editing, and you should continue cutting until just the good parts are left. Always do the massive changes to a project first and add effects, music, and text towards the end. Now, with these cuts, let's make them cleaner in the video with a transition. There are a lot of options, but first you must switch to the effects layout. Now on the right is a new section with a library of different effects. Open video transitions and you'll see all the options. I think the dissolve transitions look the cleanest, so I would recommend going with cross dissolve. We can drag the desired effect to the video clip on the timeline, but we can only place transitions at the points when one clip ends and another begins. So say right here. This same process can be repeated for audio transitions and makes the video sound professional. We'll use the constant power crossfade audio transition at all cuts. So if we open audio transitions crossfade, constant power, we'll put this at the cuts. We have almost completed a simple edited video, but let's add a title at the beginning so viewers know what they're about to watch. We can stay on the effects layout or switch back to editing. Click the type tool or press T on the keyboard and move the blue timeline bar to the beginning of our video. Now click and drag on the preview video in the top right to create a text box. It's okay if it's not perfect because we can change it later and move it on the timeline. When we switch back to the selection tool with V or clicking on it over in the left, we can modify the size and position of the text box. So right here. To change the font, the size, or the color of the text, we can go to Effect Controls in the top left section. Let your creative juices take over and pick options that look the best for your specific project. All the normal text editing options are here, and you can move the text box from this selection too. The other options in Effect Controls are not as simple to show, so I'll leave them for another video. Like a video clip, we can move, split, trim, and add effects to the text on the timeline. Let's put a fade transition on the beginning and end of the text. So we'll put it right here and right here. That is the end. Again, this bottom bar, you can zoom in with left or right here. The scroll will just cycle left or right on the timeline. Two more steps before we're finished with the basics. Let's add a picture to our project. First, we must import it and then drag it to the video track above our video clip on the timeline. PNGs are your friend when it comes to adding pictures to your video projects, as they don't have a distracting background, either white or black or any colors, and they are simply the content you want to show. So a PNG is basically, it has a transparent background. So again, we can either file and import, or you can press Ctrl and I, or you can drag the file in. And we'll go to pictures. Again, if you also download a picture, then it will easily show up. But let's just say we want to add this Adobe picture. Boom, it is on here. We drag it to the timeline, and you can either put it as the same track as text or above it. And there it is. Once the picture is on the timeline, select it and view the effect controls. Click on the motion tab, and now we're free to move the image around on the preview screen to the right. Adjust the size, rotation, and opacity here. If you want, you can reset any parameter in the effect controls. Just like the text or video clip, we can trim and move the image on the timeline. It's all very intuitive at this point. This is a good time to experiment with different transitions. So again, we can move the image left or right. We can trim it right or left. and we can also add a bunch of different transitions. Moving on to the last step, let's add some music to the background of our project. Again, you want to start by importing some music. So we will go to our music files. Again, it's anything you download. Once we select a song and it's imported, you want to drag it to the timeline, and we're going to put it on the lowest track, which is down here. It doesn't really matter if you put on the lowest track or not, as long as it is not overlapping a different audio track. We're going to fade this song in and out with the constant power crossfade transition, as this will make it sound very professional. Clicking the transition will let us change the properties under Effect Controls. We can also trim the transitions to be longer or shorter with the selection tool, like that. Let's decrease the volume of the music so we can hear our video clip more. To do this, we select the song and either pull down on the line in the middle of the track on the timeline, or change the volume under Effect Controls. So you can either change the volume here to say -9, or we can move this track line up or down. And that's it for the basics. You should now know how to piece together a video project in Adobe Premiere Pro using clips, pictures, text, and music. Adding sound effects is just as easy as in music, so you could do that as well. Once you have a project completed, you will have to export it to a video file like MP4 so you can share it with all your friends. Firstly, watch the whole project through the preview screen in the top right to check for editing errors. Then, to export, we will go to File, Export Media, or press Ctrl-M on the keyboard. This opens the export settings window, which can be confusing, but for a basics video, use these upcoming settings and save them as a preset. For the format, we want H.264. The preset is, we are making it right now, so it's going to show up as custom. Create a name for the output file by clicking this blue text and then typing in the name in the save box. Make sure it exports video and audio. Don't mess with the settings under Effects, Multiplexer, Captions, and Publish, as those are just fine. But under the Video tab, we want to make sure it's set at 1920 by 1080, and the frame rate should match the video clip we imported at the beginning. Premiere should automatically match this for you, but if not, go with 60 or 30 FPS to be safe. You want to set aspect to square pixels, profile to high, and level to 4.2. Make sure render at maximum depth is checked, and the bitrate settings should be set to CBR, and target bitrate should be anywhere from 30 to 45. You can either scroll on the scroll bar or click the blue text and type it in. Under the audio tab, we want the format to be AAC with a sample rate of 48,000 Hertz and a high audio quality down here. The bitrate should be set at 320 kilobytes per second, and the precedence should be bitrate, not sample rate. Then at the bottom, make sure use maximum render quality is checked, and leave all these other checkboxes unchecked. The time interpolation should be frame sampling. Now we're ready to export, so we can click the button that says export and the project will render. When it's complete, a MP4 file of the project will appear in the save location, and you should watch it before sharing it or uploading it to check for rendering errors. Video editing is as simple as that. Have fun making videos and be creative. There's so much you can do with Adobe Premiere Pro, and I hope you learned a lot.